legends live forever. Even if we sometimes forget about them for a short period of time or they take a little break, they always get back to give us amazing stories and provide awesome experience. And that's the case with Alone in the Dark. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited about the next installment in this series, and I'm double excited to speak with Mikael, writer behind Alone in the Dark. Hi Mikael, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Let's be honest, Alone in the Dark is an old series. So many players have warm feelings to it, but at the same time we have equally a lot of younger players who don't know Alone in the Dark. And I'm curious, what is your approach to give something familiar to old-timers, but at the same time provide something new and fresh to a younger horror fans?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, right? When we started doing this, because there's been like 6 games before ours. So trying to sum up all of that and sort of continue on, it's kind of difficult because, I mean, we're not doing a sequel or anything. We're not doing like a remake. We are, trying something new. I guess people like to say reboot. I don't really like that because it's not like we're trying to do something completely new with it. We don't want to sort of reinvent it. We want to keep what's there. It has been a challenge to figure out what that means. The way that I sort of figured it in my head is more like I imagine us sort of just finding these old antiques and just destroying them and just violently destroying them and then going like, ooh, I like this part, and then I'm just sort of gluing something together like a new abomination. I do like to sort of use the metaphor of tearing them apart and then putting something new together because I think it's a kind of humble way to look at it as well, because it is daunting. I want to pay tribute. I want it to be an homage to, the old games, especially like the first one and maybe, the second and the third, but all of them, of course, in a way, because they're all a part of the history of Alone in the Dark. It was really freaky to play it back then, and I wanted to sort of try to make sure that we honor that feeling more than trying to recreate it, if that makes sense. But again, it is a completely new story. I keep sort of reassuring people that you don't have to worry about the old stuff. You can just come into our game and just play it and enjoy it. I assume that most people who play it will be that way. They will just sort of come into it completely fresh and they will hopefully enjoy it. And I'm thinking that maybe if you do enjoy it, then maybe you will go on like
try the older titles, yeah?
Yeah, or at least, start Googling things. What is this thing? Why is that?
I like your approach with destroying and collecting once again all the pieces. I think this is the right approach, and I see that you're a right man in the right place. You have also a star cast in Alone in the Dark, and of course I just have to ask about it, how it was to work with Jodie Comer and David Harbour.
They were really, really good. They're fantastic actors, but it was just sort of fun to see them work. They're true professionals. So it's so interesting, not just with David and Jodie, but actors in general, to sort of hear, as soon as they start reading the words, the characters come to life, and as a writer, you go like, oh, this is how they sound, And it's interesting how sort of, like with David, we all know David from Stranger Things. I had already seen him in a sort of a sheriff role, which is not that different from, a private eye that he plays in Alone in the Dark. So I sort of understood that he would slot in, perfectly. It would just work. And of course he did so. I think he brought a lot of sort of fun, and also that sort of, it's a bit of an adventure-y, kind of reluctant hero thing, which I really like. We have the two characters are called Edward and Emily. And Emily was actually written in mind to be, they were written more in the sense of being a duo. So what that meant is like going back looking at old noir stuff, like, maybe like movies from the 40s and things like that. You often got these an interesting, chatty couple of people, they're going at each other. They're kind of being slightly teasing and mean to each other in a very fun way. So they would immediately just sort of punching each other with words. So it was much more comical in a way that they interacted at first. But it was interesting, as soon as I started to hear Jodie sort of go into the role, I understood that she played it much more seriously, which was so interesting to me because, this is interesting because now we can sort of play into the sadness, which is one of the things that I do like when I write for horror. Like I go down the tragedy and sadness route. You know that since you said that you played Amnesia and Darkest Stand. And there's a lot of tragedy there.
It's not a funny game, yeah.
Yeah. So and that's kind of what I liked. So again, so when actors sort of really start speaking the words, they come to life, and it starts sort of changing how I perceive them. And they both made their characters more interesting than I had anticipated. But I think Jodie might have been sort of just tweaking it more than I had expected, and I really enjoyed that. Thank you, Lucas, for talking to me. It's been a pleasure. I really hope that you like Alone in the Dark and that the audience will enjoy it as well. And yeah, please have fun.